Did you discover your passion for the arts and storytelling?
Oh wow. Yeah, I guess so. I'm born and raised in New York City. I grew up on the Upper West Side, and I guess from an early age, my parents just encouraged the arts all around. So I was always into like drawing and singing, and we eventually, my brother and I both did this program called Tada Youth Theater in New York City, and so that was really my foray into acting, and that was a nonprofit youth theater company that did original musicals, and I probably did I don't know, let's say 7 to 10 musicals with them when I was a little kid. So I think that definitely got me. What's the expression? That's how I got bit by the
The
bug of
bug, yeah.
the bug. Yeah, the bug of theater. So yeah, that's really how it started. And then from there, as you know, since I was 12 years old, I sort of started auditioning, and I think growing up in New York, that's what made that possible. But there was never this sort of stage mom pressure filled situation. It was just very like, have fun with it. Don't ever let this make you crazy. And I've really tried to carry that with me throughout my many years.
It might be the answer to this next question, but when you look at your career as a whole, who or what has had the biggest influence, either personally or professionally?
I mean, really, it goes back to like my training. So I went from Tada essentially to a performing arts high school called LaGuardia in New York
Yeah.
City, which is amazing. I mean, that I actually credit almost everything to, because that was intensive training in high school, and that was a free program, which is just incredible. So I think LaGuardia, then leading to NYU, where I got my BFA in drama. I think all those things led to it was a sort of nice slow burn into deepening the work. But yeah, Meisner. I mean, the Meisner technique is what I studied at NYU, and I don't know if that's sort of a boring answer, but I did love the listening and responding. I think that always just, I think good living is good acting, or vice versa. All that training definitely kind of lives within me, and it comes out in various ways.
In addition to being an actor, you're also a musician. How has that medium impacted the work that you've done on screen and vice versa?
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, the music has been my sort of passion project. Grasshopper is the
Yeah.
name because half Asian, and I'm in training kung fu style. But yeah, right. I think writing a song for me has been a lot easier than writing a screenplay, which is something that is on my bucket list. And so I think the music has just been a way to kind of combat the chaos that is, and the arbitrariness that is the auditioning process. And I'm able to control the music, and it's a lot easier to write a 2 to 3 minute song than it is to write
Mm.
that episode or that film script. And yeah, I mean, for me, just music has always just come really naturally. I mean, I'm looking at my ukulele right here. I play guitar, ukulele. I'm a singer. I think it started with sort of folk, kind of like indie folk music, and now it's evolved into a what I call a lo-fi rap project. But me and my producer Dave Pizzamenti, we're about to release, or we're gearing up to release my full second album right now, and
Oh, cool.
I think I'm gonna, with all my might, push this one out harder than I did the first album. And so my dream right now is to really I'm gonna be shooting some content for it, and I'm really proud of this batch of songs. We're sitting on about 12 songs right now. Um, so yeah, I mean, I should say too that my bucket list goal though is to write a screenplay for myself, a vehicle that kind of deals with my identity, and
Yeah.
sort of what a lot of people deal with, which is just not belonging in any exact group. And I think that's even part of what Grasshopper is, just in its nature. So yeah, that's a goal though. It's something that I really want to kind of even express to you here, is that I definitely plan on writing something that will tackle my mixed identity, and that is something that I know will happen, and I want to speak that into existence.
Well, speaking of identity, this industry has made really slow progress to greater representation and diversity on screen. When did you start noticing that shift for yourself, and why do you think it's taken the industry so long?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's funny. I played a vaguely Latino character on a soap opera maybe 15 years ago called As the World Turns, named Gabriel Caras, where I had to roll my R's when I said my name. And we've come a long way since then, because now I wouldn't even audition for something that was written to be Latino. Yeah, I don't know why it's taken so long, and I do have a real vendetta when it comes to Asian representation, of course. And so for me, it means a lot to see integrity being brought to these breakdowns and the content that we're seeing right now. Yeah, I mean, when it was a slow, I feel like it was a slow burn, or it was a slow process. I mean, I remember auditioning for so many characters I was just not right for growing up. And now I just recently kind of turned down an audition that was written to be explicitly Japanese, because it felt like and it was a period piece, and it just felt like it would have been not fitting. Whereas back in the day, if I would have jumped at the chance of any Asian character.
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful moment, especially for Asian representation. And on a good day, I'm on a mission to just bring as much integrity and dignity to what I portray on screen. Yeah, so I don't know why it's taken so long, but it should have happened a long time ago.
You've had a breakout moment with Legacies, and that was your first role as a series regular. What will you remember most from that experience, and what did you learn about yourself and your craft that you're going to apply to future projects?
Yeah, God, just the sheer fact that I did so many episodes on that, and had such an evolving arc. There's a lot to take away. I think getting to just spend that much time on a show and with a character in itself is just, it's like the Malcolm Gladwell 1,000 hours thing, or you're just basically putting in the time. So without even trying too hard, you're naturally building up your skills. But yeah, I think I just learned to, despite all the supernaturalness on the show, and despite the very like widely changing arc of my character, I think it always I learned to make sure to always bring it back to my true experience, and back to that kind of Meisner work, which is really grounded in living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, and those circumstances were very imaginary. So I think in the end, the werewolf curse that I was dealing with, that I was able to really particularize that and liken it to certain experiences and even buried traumas in my own life. So that was the good challenge. That was the fun challenge with that show. And I think, Brett and Julie, the creators, did just a great job sort of teasing out the Jed storyline. And, I loved where it went and ended. And I think the fact that it ended with this love story with the character Ben was just extremely meaningful to me. And I wouldn't have taken that storyline on had it been not organically kind of written. And it was something they had broached me about even years before with a different character. And I was game then, but the fact that it ended up happening with Zayn Phillips, the actor, was just a great thing for me.
Yeah, we've had a question about that. I'll come back to that one. But
Okay.
your character has such an incredible journey over your tenure with the show, as he breaks down his walls and deals with his trauma. And you handle that with so much nuance. As an actor, how do you create the space for yourself to dive into those more emotional arcs?
Yeah. God, I guess the truth is, very specifically, I lost my beloved grandmother at the very beginning of COVID. And I think that I infused as much as I could into that traumatic backstory. Yeah, I mean, because Jed was put upon by a toxic male father figure. And yeah, I mean, through series of kind of daydreamings and particularizing, I think I tapped into what mattered to me, which was sort of the loss I felt right at the beginning of COVID, which was, I guess, almost 2 years ago. Yeah, I think that was something that was key for me in keeping it intimate and honest. Yeah, I think it's always with acting, it's a combination. It's, to me, it's like war out there, because you never know if you're going to be shooting your biggest moment at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're doing your coverage when you least expect it. So you have to pull out different tricks out of your hat. I mean, sometimes I think it was a matter of working physically. If I get myself worked up on a physical sense, that might create this feeling in me. And then if I had songs that kind of would also get me into those feelings of loss or fear or disappointment, which I think was part of Jed's final journey. So yeah, I don't know. I think getting into the emotional stuff, it's always a grab bag, and you never know what it's going to be that unlocks that piece in you. But I certainly I like to work pretty openly and try different things out, and so it's just a combination of all the different experiences and training I had in my life that I think leads to those performances.
You were saying earlier, your character is a part of a groundbreaking moment and relationship in Vampire Diaries and Legacy history. What does it meant to you to be a part of a storyline and project that's pushing these inclusive storylines forward? And what was it like getting to collaborate with Zayn as you brought this to life?
Yeah, I mean, one of the greatest things about Legacies is how inclusive it was. I mean, it was such a diverse cast. I think they really leaned into that in the writers' room, and yeah, it means a lot to me to play an Asian character. My character's last name I was able to contribute, which was Tien, which is my mother's maiden name.
Oh,
And
cool.
and actually at first Brett, I think I can say this. At first, Brett was wanted to be my late grandmother's last name, which was Wong, but that didn't clear for some reason. Instead, we went with my mother's maiden name, Tien. And just that in itself, seeing my mother just beam at the idea of that was just, that's what it's all about to me. So yeah, getting to play a dynamic Asian character who has a love story in itself is something that I find just special and important. We need to see a lot more of that, because in the past I remember auditioning for characters that were either sexless or very two-dimensional, and then getting it to evolve to a place where Jed is coming to terms with his bisexuality, which he had repressed for so long, because it was I think created so richly that made it really fun to work on. And yeah, I mean, I have family members who are queer and gay, and that had to be done in a responsible way. And I think growing up, it would have been great to have seen more storylines like this. And so all that to say, I was honored to portray that on camera. And I think, getting to work with Zayn just was the icing on the cake. I don't think we would have done it had it been something less authentic. And yeah, he was incredible to work with. I think him and I right off the bat were just very kindred and connected, and we really worked through scenes. Even our last scene, one of our last scenes in the final episode, we rehearsed the night before, blocked it kind of differently than they had in mind, and we came to the day and really inserted our own thoughts on the scene, which and made it a lot more intimate. And I think that right there just kind of puts the cap on why I loved working with Zayn, and the fact that we were able to be so collaborative and connected.
Fans have really gravitated towards this relationship. What has it been like for you getting to see the response through social media?
Yeah, it's my first time being on a show that was this popular, and I love it. I think the fans have been so kind and excited. And when I get a response in my DMs or something that says, as a queer Asian American, seeing your storyline, means so much to me, that really makes the whole thing worthwhile. And at least on my feed, I'm only seeing a lot of love. I'm not seeing, I guess maybe it's the algorithms, but I'm not seeing a lot of negativity or any sort of hate. I know that exists out there. And I know Twitter is a strange, confusing place, but I certainly only want to fan the flames of love and inclusivity. And in my real life, I very much don't stand for bullying, which is what makes the Jed storyline so interesting, is that it started with this extreme violent bullying behavior, and then kind of we learn over time that it's from a traumatic past. And so I think I've been really touched by the fan base, and I definitely got a lot of love for the TVDU universe.
Fans were devastated to learn that Legacies wasn't going to be picked up for another season. If you could share parting words with not only them, but also your character, what would they be?
I think I speak for the whole cast when I say we were just deeply honored that the fans, stood with us. And I see the love on the social medias where people are really clamoring to keep it going. And it means the world to us. I think we were braced for the possibility, but I don't think anyone really thought that was going to happen. I know that the network being sold was a big kind of chaotic shakeup in there, but the fact that the fans were so loving and supportive and really on our side and on our different characters' sides, and especially with the Ben Jed storyline, that means the world to me. I'm going to keep embracing that community. It's to me, it's so special, and in this world, to have a show that's connecting to people and making people feel accepted is just beautiful. And I think Jed and Ben were about to have a pretty powerful season 5. I mean, I know that I've heard that through the grapevine that there was a lot that was going to happen with us too. And it's unfortunate, and I hope I get the chance to work with Zayn again in some other capacity.
Speaking of that, what's next for you?
I just got a nice heavy recurring on Kung Fu.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, which is amazing because Olivia Lang and I have been good friends
Yeah.
since meeting her on Legacies. And so it's actually just moments before we got on this, I was just talking to the showrunners about the character, and it's going to be a really fun part. I'm just psyched because it also relates to my music, because Grasshopper is truly like, I got that name based on the 70s Kung Fu, the original show. So yeah, that's what's next for me. Is right now I'm about to hop over to Vancouver and jump in on season 3.